There are moments in life when everything feels still. Not peaceful, not calm, just still. Like you're standing at the edge of something, but you don't know what. Like heaven's gone quiet. You've prayed. You've waited. You've wondered if the silence means you were forgotten. But what if I told you, this stillness isn't abandonment? It's not a dead end. It's the moment before the breakthrough. You see, when the ground is about to shake, it always goes quiet first. This isn't the end of your story. This, right here, is the turning point. And whether you realize it or not, this is the sign you've been waiting for. The silence before the shift. There comes a moment in every journey where the noise fades, the movement stops, and everything around you feels muted. It's not chaos, but it isn't peace either. It's a strange, quiet stillness that seeps into your days. You wake up, and nothing feels different, but you can sense something just beneath the surface. The calls slow down, the excitement vanishes. Even the people who used to be there, the ones who once filled the hours, grow distant. You begin to wonder if you're being left behind, if perhaps what you hoped for isn't coming after all. But that silence is not a void, it's not emptiness, it's something sacred. It's a space being cleared for something that cannot arrive in noise. The greatest shifts don't happen when life is loud and full. They begin when life becomes still enough for you to feel the deeper pulse beneath the surface. That's where divine work begins. Not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet surrender of the soul. We've been conditioned to associate silence with absence. But the truth is, silence often means presence, a deeper kind of presence. One that doesn't announce itself, one that doesn't prove itself. One that moves quietly, intentionally, without the need for validation. When nothing seems to be happening on the outside, that's often when the deepest rearrangement is taking place within. You're not stuck. You're being still because the path ahead is being altered, shaped, and prepared in ways you can't yet comprehend. Think of the seed buried underground. It doesn't make a sound when it splits open. It doesn't cry out as it sends down roots and pushes toward the light. But in that hidden, wordless place, life is being born. The silence is not stagnation, it's gestation. What's forming in you right now needs this stillness. It needs the absence of distraction. It needs the quiet to gather strength. This stillness, as unnerving as it may feel, is not where your story ends. It's where your spirit catches up with your purpose. It's where your heart sheds what no longer fits. It's where your past loses its grip and your future begins its gentle approach. You may not feel movement, but that's only because the kind of breakthrough you're being prepared for isn't loud. It's sacred, and sacred things are always born in silence. The weight you carry is the proof you're chosen. It's easy to believe that struggle means something is wrong, that if you were truly aligned, truly favored, life would be easier. You wouldn't feel this kind of pressure. You wouldn't wake up with that invisible weight pressing against your chest. But what if the pressure itself is a sign, not of failure, not of punishment, but of calling? People often forget that the strongest vessels carry the heaviest loads, that greatness isn't handed to those who seek comfort. It's entrusted to those who can carry the weight without breaking. And make no mistake, the weight is real. The late nights, the self-doubt, the moments when your own reflection feels unfamiliar, the loneliness that clings even when you're surrounded by others. That's not random, that's refinement. And it's not happening to break you, it's happening to prepare you. You were not chosen for lightness, you were chosen for depth. And with depth comes responsibility. With responsibility comes resistance, and with resistance comes pressure. The kind that doesn't just shape your character, but carves it into something immovable. The kind that takes soft edges and hardens them into armor, not so you become cold, but so you become unshakable. The world is full of people who walk an easy path, who choose comfort and call it peace. But the ones who are set apart, the ones who are called to change rooms when they enter, who are meant to carry light into dark places, they are given a different kind of road. And that road is narrow, it's heavy, it demands more than it gives in the beginning, but it leads to places most people never get to see. You weren't meant to blend in. That's why your struggle feels different. It's why your pain has layers that no one else seems to understand. Because your breakthrough isn't surface level. It's not the kind you can explain in a sentence. It's the kind that builds silently for years, until one day the world sees what you've known in your bones all along. There was something different about you. Something sacred. Carrying this weight is not a sign that you've been forgotten by the divine. It's a sign you've been trusted. Heaven does not give heavy assignments to fragile shoulders. It gives them to the ones who can bear it, even if they don't know they can. It gives it to the quiet warriors who wake up every day and keep going, without applause, without assurance, sometimes without hope, but they keep going anyway. You don't need to apologize for how heavy it's been. You don't need to explain why you've been tired, why your smile hasn't been reaching your eyes, why you've had to pull away just to stay whole. You're carrying something most people couldn't, and even though they may not see it now, you know. Deep down, you've always known. And that knowing, that's proof. That's evidence. You're not being buried, you're being planted, and what you're about to become will make every ounce of this pressure worth it. The delay is not denial, it's design. There's a peculiar kind of pain that comes with waiting, not the sharp pain of tragedy, not the loud ache of loss, but the quiet, enduring kind, the kind that seeps into your spirit, that makes days feel longer and nights feel heavier. You pray, you plan, you believe, but then nothing moves. Doors don't open, silence stretches out like a hallway with no end, and you begin to wonder if maybe you misread everything. Every sign, every feeling, every moment of hope. This is where many hearts begin to grow bitter, not because they didn't want to believe, but because they did, fully, fiercely. And yet, the breakthrough never came when they thought it would. The promise felt so close, and then it vanished. Again. You look at others passing you by, less prepared, less devoted, but somehow further along, and it gets harder to convince yourself that you're still on the right path. But that's where we misunderstand the nature of delay. Delay isn't denial. It's not rejection. It's not some cosmic punishment or proof that you've fallen behind. Delay is divine design in motion. A deliberate slowing down so that the outcome doesn't just arrive, it arrives right, with precision, with protection, with power. The truth is, there are blessings that look like detours. There are rejections that are actually redirections. And there are seasons of waiting that exist not to test your strength, but to build the structure that can hold the weight of what you're asking for. Because make no mistake, what's coming is heavy. It's not just an answer to prayer. It's an entire shift, a life change. And heaven will never rush something that sacred. You may think you're ready, and maybe in many ways you are. But what about the room you're walking into? What about the people you'll meet, the challenges you'll face, the temptations that hide behind new success? What looks like delay from your side may very well be protection from a higher view. Not everything you want right now is safe to receive. Not every door you've been knocking on leads where you think it does. And sometimes the delay is what saves you from walking through the wrong one. There's something holy in the hidden seasons. When no one sees your effort, when your name isn't being spoken in rooms yet, when all you have is your integrity and your patience. These are the seasons where your foundation is formed, not just the outer success, but the internal strength to sustain it. Because there's nothing more tragic than receiving what you prayed for before you're truly ready to hold it. And maybe that's why you're here, on the edge, in the waiting room, in the space between the promise and the fulfillment. Not because you've been forgotten, but because you're being finished, refined, stabilized. You're not standing still, you're being shaped. And heaven never wastes time, it redeems it. Every silent month, every unanswered question, every moment of delay is a part of something bigger, something coming with force not just for your benefit, but for everyone your life will impact once that breakthrough arrives. And maybe you've been asking, why hasn't it happened yet? But maybe the better question is, what is being built right now that I can't yet see? Because faith isn't just about believing for what's coming. It's about trusting the process while it's still hidden, while the stage is still being set, while you're still behind the curtain. If you could see how precisely things are being arranged on your behalf, you wouldn't beg for it to arrive sooner. You'd weep in gratitude that it's being done with such care, and, when it comes, when that moment finally reaches you, it won't feel late. It'll feel like it was always meant to be this way. Perfect timing, perfect place. So, hold steady, not because you have all the answers, but because you trust the one who does. Your life is not on pause, it's on purpose. And this delay, it's not a sign of denial. It's the careful design of something far greater than what you could have built on your own. Your pain has a pulse, it's leading you somewhere. There's a kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't collapse in public or beg for attention. It moves quietly, almost respectfully, through your life, settling in your chest, resting behind your eyes, showing up at night when no one else is awake. It's the ache of endurance, of carrying things too long, of smiling while something inside you whispers that you're not okay, but there's no time to fall apart. Pain like this isn't easy to explain. People ask how you're doing, and you nod, you smile, you deflect, because how do you put into words a storm that no one else can feel? How do you describe the weight of invisible wounds, of hopes that were once alive but now only flicker in the corners of your memory? It's not always a sharp pain. Sometimes it's dull, lingering, like a song playing on repeat that you can't quite turn off. And some part of you wonders, is this what life is going to be now? But I want to tell you something you might not have heard in a long time. That pain you're feeling, it isn't meaningless. It's not chaos. It has a rhythm, a direction, a purpose. Your pain has a pulse, and anything with a pulse is alive. You see, pain is often the first language of transformation. It shows up not to break you, but to awaken something inside you that comfort could never touch. The very fact that you feel deeply means you haven't gone numb. You haven't quit. You're still here, still breathing, still fighting, even if no one sees it, and that matters. Because every tear you've cried, every silent battle you've endured, every morning you got up when you didn't feel like it, it's all movement. Even pain that holds you still is moving something deep inside of you. There is wisdom in what hurts. There is revelation in the ache. Not because suffering is good, but because suffering, when handed to something higher, becomes sacred. It becomes the soil for empathy, for strength, for vision. The strongest voices you'll ever hear in this life didn't come from ease. They were carved out by fire, softened by loss, deepened by the very thing they thought would destroy them. Look back. Think about the versions of yourself you've had to shed just to make it this far. The times you outgrew places that once felt like home. The people you loved who couldn't go where you were heading. The dreams you had to let die so new ones could be born. All of it hurt, and yet all of it grew you. It wasn't wasted. It wasn't random. It was the path. The pain was the pulse that guided you, step by step, through every season you didn't understand at the time. And maybe that's what's happening now. Maybe this ache in your chest isn't the end of something. Maybe it's the labor pain of something being born inside of you. Something that will make all of this make sense. Because there's a version of you on the other side of this that sees the world with different eyes. A version that doesn't chase validation because they've found value in the quiet. A version that doesn't fear being alone because they've discovered strength in solitude. A version that no longer bends to the weight of other people's expectations because they've finally met their own soul and realized it was enough. But here's the truth that most people don't say out loud. Healing is not a straight line. Growth is not graceful. And breakthrough does not always feel like light breaking through the clouds. Sometimes it feels like crawling through the dark, whispering to yourself that this can't be for nothing. Sometimes it feels like letting go of the timeline you imagined, the person you were trying to become, the plan that no longer fits the reality you're living in. And that's okay. You're allowed to mourn what you lost, even as you prepare for what's ahead. You're allowed to carry both hope and hurt in the same breath, because that's what makes you human. And being human, in all its messiness and beauty, is what connects you to something higher, something eternal. The divine does not expect perfection. It invites participation. It invites you to bring the whole of yourself, wounded, weary, waiting, and place it in the hands of something greater than your understanding. And maybe, just maybe, this pain is doing something miraculous. Maybe it's building a new strength in you that no storm will ever be able to shake. Maybe it's making room for a future that is richer, deeper, and more aligned than the one you would have settled for. Maybe it's preparing you to be a voice for others who feel lost, forgotten, and unseen. Maybe your pain is becoming your purpose, not in spite of it, but because of it. So don't curse the process. Don't rush the lesson. Let this pain do its work. Let it lead you, not with fear, but with faith. Because as long as you can feel it, you are alive. And as long as you are alive, there is still something ahead of you worth walking toward. Even if you don't know what it is yet, even if all you can do today is breathe and say, I'll try again tomorrow. That's enough. That's more than enough. Because your pain has a pulse. And that pulse is leading you to the very place your healing will begin. This is the sign you asked for. You've been carrying a question in your spirit for a long time now. You haven't always said it out loud, but it's been there, quiet, persistent. A whisper behind the noise of daily life. Behind the smile you wear for the world. Is this all there is? Will it ever change? Did I miss the moment? Or maybe the one that cuts the deepest of all. God, do you still see me? You've looked for answers. In people, in progress. In promises that never came through. You've held onto signs that felt real for a moment, only to fade away like mist when things didn't change. And little by little, your faith began to feel like a memory, like something that once burned bright but now flickers, barely keeping warm. But even in that flicker, something sacred has survived. because you didn't give up. You're here, still searching, still listening, still hoping, even when hope has hurt you before. And I need you to understand something. This moment, right here, is not a coincidence. It's not just another video, another speech, another voice in the wind. This is the sign, the one you asked for when no one else knew what you were going through. The one you prayed for when you said, just show me something, anything, to keep going. This is it. Because signs don't always come with lightning. They don't always arrive in a dream or a voice booming from heaven. Sometimes they come in stillness. Sometimes they arrive wrapped in someone else's words, but land like truth in your own soul. Sometimes the most powerful signs don't pull you out of your situation. They remind you that you're not alone in it, that you've been seen, heard, held, even when it didn't feel like it. And right now, whether your world is falling apart or simply feels numb and directionless, this is your reminder. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible to heaven. Your pain hasn't been ignored. Your efforts haven't been wasted. Your name is still written in the story. And the page you're on is not the final chapter. There is more life, more healing, more meaning than you've yet tasted, and it's closer than you think. You've been taught to look for signs in outcomes, but the real sign is often your endurance, the fact that you're still breathing, still listening, still asking. That is evidence. That's proof that your spirit hasn't quit, and anything that still breathes has purpose. Anything with purpose is still in process, and anything in process can still break through. Maybe you've been walking through a season where nothing makes sense, where the answers feel too far and the silence feels too loud. But there is a shift happening beneath the surface. Not in the loud, dramatic way the world teaches us to recognize change, but in the quiet rearranging of your spirit, in the steady unraveling of things that no longer serve you, in the sacred rebuilding of strength that no one else can see. This is not the end. This is the middle, and the middle always feels messy, but it's where your roots grow deeper. It's where your perspective sharpens. It's where you learn to stop chasing signs in the sky and start listening for the whisper in your soul, the same whisper that brought you here, to these words, to this moment, to this confirmation you didn't even know you needed. You don't need a miracle to know you're loved. You don't need fireworks to prove you have purpose. You just need one thing, to believe one more time that where you are right now is not where you'll stay. To believe that the doors you thought were closed for good were actually sealed until the right time. To believe that your life still has a mission and that it's not too late. Somewhere along the way, life tried to convince you that you were behind, that you missed your moment, that you wasted your potential. But time in divine hands is not like time in ours. You haven't lost anything that can't be restored. What was broken can be rebuilt. What was taken can be returned. What was delayed can still arrive, and when it does, it will make sense in a way it never could have before. You've grown in the dark. You've endured the silence. You've walked alone longer than you ever thought you could. And now, heaven is whispering back to you the answer you were afraid might never come. Yes, I see you. Yes, I heard you. Yes, it's still coming. Yes, this is the sign. So lift your head, straighten your back. You may not feel ready, but readiness isn't always a feeling, it's a choice. Choose to stand, choose to breathe, choose to believe again, even if your hands still shake. Because the breakthrough you've been praying for is not on the other side of the world. It's not a lifetime away. It's closer than you think. closer than it's ever been, closer than you can see. And when it comes, you'll know. Because something inside you, something beyond emotion, beyond thought, will rise up and say, "This is what I was waiting for." And you'll realize it was worth it. Every step, every scar, every silent night, it all led here, to the breakthrough, to the beginning, to the sign you asked for.